Brad Williams, Frugal Finance. I have to open this up with a bit of a chuckle because we go online and there are just endless offers. The top 10 best credit cards, etc. Ugh, come on, please. There's over 14,000 different credit cards out there in the United States. 14,000. To select the best credit card, it would be cumbersome. So I'm taking an unbiased approach. I'm going to a government-related entity. This is the Consumer Finance Protection Board. All right, they produce this information. I'm just going to pass on their advice. Me personally, I just think credit cards are a utility. I don't play the points game. Some of you do, and perhaps that's a benefit. Teach me something about it. Because I am Frugal Finance, I try to cut back and I try not to use my credit card. I try not to buy stuff I don't need. But look, a lot of you travel and there could be some serious benefits, or you may have a sizable family where you go to Costco or Sam's Club or any of the big box places, or your contractor, and you buy a lot using your credit card, and that's sensible, and I don't have any problem with that. But how do you go about finding the best credit card? Well, you shop around. How do you go about that? Comparing offers before applying for a credit card helps you find the right card for your needs. It helps make sure you're not paying higher fees or interest rates that you don't have to. The average credit card rate now has skyrocketed. Here it is, the first of 2025. And in credit card interest rates, they can go as high as 30%. On average, it's about 18% in a 5% market. So when you're looking at this, first and foremost, keep in mind, what is your FICO score? Sadly, you're just a number. And if your numbers don't gel with the credit card processing application, it's a fully automated format, then you're not going to get the most favorable rate. So if you're working at trying to find the best credit card, first, look at your credit FICO or your credit score. I use FICO just because it's just the crescent wrench of credit reporting, and you can call it whatever you want. But if you're looking at a FICO score below 700, I would first and foremost work on your credit. The reason why the highest credit scores are about 825, 850. There's 3 different credit bureaus. They typically take an average, but if you're below 700, you're not going to get the best rates. So instead of shopping, first and foremost, find out why your FICO or your credit score isn't above 720. 720 is just this random number that the algorithms use. They just use statistical analysis to determine, they just use large data. They use large data, and large data with simple regression analysis, you can come up with outputs, and then you can run a crystal ball simulation to determine what that number is, that optimum number, credit score number, based on billions and billions of transactions. All right, not brain surgery, it's just number crunching. You need to know how that algorithm does its thing. Well, don't worry about crunching numbers. Worry about there's been a few late payments. That's all it takes today. If you had a dispute and you're renting a property and you had a dispute with the property owner and they noted you as being late, or for whatever reason, it can ding your credit, and that's enough for the credit card companies to change rates on you or play this game of whack-a-mole, and you're the mo and they're just whacking you and you're subject to these various high rates. Don't play that game. All right. 1, think about the number of credit cards you have, and if you're not using them, close them. 2, focus on any late payments, and if there's a mistake on your credit report, immediately fix it. Then focus on why you need more than one credit card. There's a whole host of reasons. I just suggest that if you lose your credit cards, all right, you lose your purse, you lose your wallet, you're going to have to go back. And the time it takes to reconcile all that information. Let's say you have 5 different credit cards. You're going to have to call up each credit card companies, and you're going to have to cancel all that information. Well, if that's the case, then it's a zero balance. Why do you have the card in the first place? So think about that. This is all, just think of a snowball. As it rolls down the hill, it's going to get bigger and bigger. Well, keep in mind, the more credit cards you have, the bigger the problems you have have, and most likely you're not going to get the most favorable rate. That's the starting point. Then it's a matter of, well, could I benefit by having a credit card, using it at a minimum, but then also have a debit card? That way you control your spending, because that's immediate. You're going to immediately save on interest charges. You are going to insert a little bit of discipline. It's a little harder when you know there's only $400 on a debit card. You allot that amount for your monthly expenses and it's down to $6 and you're only at the middle of the month, okay? As opposed to using this convenience factor of the credit card being subject to astronomical interest charges and subsequently robbing you of cash flow. When I say robbing you of cash flow, can you imagine you have an outstanding balance of $1,000 a month and you're only making the minimum payment? You're just robbing yourself, because you're paying for something you can't use. That interest amount is going to Wall Street and you're paying somebody a dividend, all right? One way or another, your convenience is benefiting someone else and they don't have to do a darn thing about it. They just sit fat and happy going, go ahead, use up that credit card all you want. Subsequently, while I'm sitting on my yacht laughing at you, then go ahead. Well, just by the way, current credit card debt in the United States is over $1 trillion. All right. How much impact do I have on you and your spending behavior? Well, I'm just speaking from experience. I like keeping things as simple as possible, and multiple credit cards, it just takes too much time. There's other things I want to do other than having to monitor all this stuff. So I just keep things as simple as possible. One credit card, spend as little as possible, and I pay it off monthly, period. With no ifs, ands, or buts. I make it a practice to only spend within a very, very, very tight budget. And if there's something that's over budget, I don't buy it. That's just me. Hence, frugal finance. All right, here we have this example. Consider two credit cards. One carries an 18% interest rate, the other 15%. If you owed $3,000 on each, can only afford to pay $100 per month, it costs more and take longer to pay off the higher rate card, no doubt. The table below shows examples of what it might take to pay off a $3,000 credit card balance, paying $100 per month at two different interest rates. Look at this. This is just staggering. It angers me. It angers me. And this is at 18% and 15%. These rates are skyrocketing. And even AAA rated borrowers are seeing this being nudged up to 21%, 25%, and 29%. It's egregious. I just think it's horrible. Rethink your spending. Stop throwing away your hard-earned money and consider the alternatives, and that is just cut back. A higher rate will cost you an extra $232. Now you're thinking, so what? Well, see this $232? This alone, if you put that into long-term investments, I don't know, you take a look at the S&P 500, you buy that index for 40 years. Put this $232 a month there for 40 plus months, and that little magic right there, you're going to sit pretty fat and happy then. That $232 is going to grow to a little bit less than $1 million. Just $232 a month. And that's interest. So reverse this, as I mentioned, that's why this guy's sitting on his yacht. All right. He understands the power of compounding. That's what credit cards do. This interest compounds on a daily basis. So this factor is humongous. Turn it around in your favor. Cut back, cut back. Now I'm a little bit off topic. I'm going to preach this time and time again. How to find the best credit card? Well, how about just use one? And if you're using just one, try to find something that meets your particular needs. All right. So not shopping around can be more expensive. So I know it's a pain in the butt. And just FYI, those people that are soliciting the top 10 are getting a commission for every deal if you sign up through whatever link that they are promoting. Okay. I suggest you call your credit union. Credit unions generally are very favorable in that rate. If there's 14,000 different credit cards out there, there has to be some competitive difference between one from the other. It's a matter of you siphoning through that, and I'm certain there's some unbiased tools available. I haven't researched it that much, and I will. If I find it, someone's probably got a tool out there that can siphon through and filter by your particular need. If you're a small business, if you travel a lot, you have airline miles, if you have huge consumer spending. In other words, you have a family of 6, that's going to be a sizable chunk of money going to foods and staples. Well, maybe you can earn something there along with lowering this interest rate and mostly paying it off. Otherwise, there's nothing wrong with a debit card. Decide how you plan to use a card. I think I've preached this enough. Okay. You may plan to pay off your balance every month to avoid interest charges. Well, you shouldn't plan. You should automatically do it. But the reality, many credit card holders don't or can't. Well, there's a difference between don't and can't. The reason you use that can't is because there's that endorphin high when you go to any shopping environment and you just buy stuff and you just think, wow, this is really neat, or someone in the family will use this, or you just get this really good feeling. Well, try to monitor that and you're going to see me just go off on shop by a list. Okay, have a list and just don't wave from your list. Stick to your list, stick to your budget, and don't be persuaded. If you bring your kids with you when you're shopping, they're going to grab stuff off the shelf and you're just go, well, how the heck did they throw that into the basket? All right. Hey, when I was a kid, I did it all the time. And I'd just get scolded left and right. Show up at the checkout stand and what's mom doing? She's just giving you the eye. Well, your kids are going to do it. So again, that's just part of the pattern. All right. If you have a credit card, let history be your guide. If you have carried balances in the past or think you're likely to do so, consider credit cards that have the lowest interest rates. These cards typically do not offer rewards and do not charge an annual fee. Now, here is the absolute just minimum criteria. Never, ever, ever pay an annual fee. Now, some of you who probably, or I won't say some of you, but you know of people that for some reason, and I just shake my head at stuff like this. But they walk around and they brag about having their American Express Gold card or what have you. For God's sakes, it's a damn credit card. Who cares? If you're that insecure and you're that arrogant, then go ahead. Be stupid and pay that $450 a year. Yeah, all right. But I suspect those types of people are not watching Frugal Finance or watching this video. If you have consistently paid off your balances every month, then you may want to focus more on fees and rewards. Always compare the value of rewards you expect to receive and use each year with the annual fees you might pay. When you're looking at your credit card, you have to look at all of the friggin' junk that these credit card companies implement. And it's just like your cell phone contract. You're going to have this contract that you're going to agree to. And who reads it? Who reads a credit card agreement form? Contract. No one. So clearly, you're not going to be concerned about the APR. You're not going to be concerned about the fees. You're not going to be concerned about the APR for balance transfers and penalty APRs and all this other stuff until you're late, or until you want to transfer, or until you, for example, realize that there was an annual fee, or that they can bump up the interest rate at any random time, or they're going to charge you for something. And it goes on and on and on and on. Don't be surprised, okay? So you need to know what you're doing. And I guess you just have to take the time to read those contracts. So you're going to have your APR. This is what people just don't understand. They look and then they see that, look, I have this 12% credit card, but they don't look at their credit card statement. And the credit card statement says, well, you're paying a 15.6 APR. And you're going, I don't understand that. It says it's a 12% credit card. Well, you have this compounding effect. And trust me, I exaggerated a little bit. Going from 12 to 15 is a little bit over the top, but you get the point. If you compound on a daily basis, your 12% is going to go up significantly higher. So the comparable would be probably about 14%. And that's where the banks make just a killing. So you need to reverse that. You need to find the rewards. And the rewards would be, I don't know, perhaps looking at whether investing in a credit card company, MasterCard or Visa or any of the others, whether that would be a good investment. I'm not going to give you that advice, but that's something to consider. Now keep in mind, who owns those groups? Well, they're owned by the large banks. Now, keep in mind, B of A set up the first credit cards back in 1947, I think. And subsequently, they, along with Citi and Wells and Wells Fargo and I think JP Morgan and Morgan Stanley and a few others, collectively combined own or control the credit card companies. So if you, like me, just find that a little over the top, is it fair? No. But you voluntarily chose to use a credit card. So you got to play by the games. So no one's forcing you to use it. You like that convenience. There's a lot of other ways. You don't have to use a credit card. You can pay everything by cash. There's nothing wrong with writing a check when you go to a store and pay for that stuff. Or you can use some of the online apps these days that will debit a particular card. I'm not sure if you want anyone access directly to your bank, but using a cash methodology might be a better approach if you're like me. But again, the focus here is to pay off your credit card on a monthly basis, and then you don't really need to worry about all this other stuff. So you're going to have a lot of information to recognize. You have fees, and the fees can just be tacked on left and right. So why this APR could go through the roof. Because if you're late, if you have a late fee, or there's a underpayment, any number of reasons that credit card companies could steal from you, they will, all right? In addition, what else we're going to talk about? Penalty APR, check for a penalty APR. You're going to see this stuff. It's just a game they play. Keep in mind, they're not companies that have one or two people working for them. They have staff, and their only job is working on manipulating the consumer. Bean counters, the friggin' accountants. Now, I have a background in accounting, and I simply, it didn't last long. So I'm a finance guy. I can't stand accountants, but some of my best friends are accountants. You know, the CPA kind of people. It's interesting to see their work attitude as opposed to their non-work attitude. And they're night and day, okay? When they're acting as the CPA, they have a requirement, and it's very, very strict, and they follow the rules. But then on the flip side, they're just like you and me, all right? They look at this stuff going, I don't agree with this stuff, but I have to do my job. So that's what they're doing. You need to be a little bit smarter than the CPAs and say, look, I'm not going to use that credit card, but if I do use a credit card, I'm going to shop around and I'm going to try to find the best deal. Well, again, as I said, with 14,000 different credit cards, I would shy away from the talking heads and those people promoting the top 10 because they, again, are making a commission, and maybe they are the better rates. I don't know. I haven't shopped it to that point. Transfer your account with care. Most credit cards charge a fee to transfer your balance. Well, there's no surprise there. They charge you a fee for everything. So even though a 0% interest rate on a balance transfer may sound appealing, it may not be free. Some credit card companies charge a one-time fee of 3 to 5% of the balance you're transferring. Wow. When you move your account, don't close your account right away. Continue to make at least the minimum payment while you're waiting for the balance to transfer to the new card. Now, keep in mind, you're always going to be responsible for that balance on your old card. It's just a matter of not transferring it, but paying it off. So if there's a way to pay that off, then do so. Clearly. If you transfer your balance to a new card and you feel you've made a mistake after reviewing your disclosures, you can generally change your mind if you act within 10 days after the credit card company sends you account opening disclosures. Contact the credit card company as soon as possible if you think you've made a mistake. Here's some of the things you need to be aware of. Here's some of just the verbiage from a typical credit card contract. So you're going to have your APR. For credit cards, the annual percentage rate is the cost of credit expressed as a yearly interest rate. All right. So you see that 18% as the note rate or the credit card rate, but your APR rate is going to be, on average, whatever that compounding effect. Then you throw in, if there's any late payments or any penalties or what have you, then that APR is going to move up considerably. Annual fee, a yearly fee that may be charged for having a credit card. I don't know. Some people, they shrug it off going, it's only a couple $100. Well, again, why give away your hard-earned money for something that it's like a watch? A $40,000 watch tells the same time as a $16 watch. Credit cards are credit cards. Balance, the amount owed on the account, including the charges, interest, and fees owed. Balance transfer fee, I just mentioned that. Your credit limit, this is the thing that killed me because, and I don't know why they do this. Like my credit card company, they just kept increasing my credit limit. I mean, it was ridiculous. And I'm not going to spend $75,000 on a credit card, you knuckleheads. So you literally have to call them up saying, hey, lower the damn card. I don't want a credit limit up to this amount. And they go, well, what? Well, you knuckleheads. What happens when somebody breaks in and hacks your particular company, or I happen to lose that credit card and there's a $75,000 balance on it? Oh, well, we didn't really put much thought into that. Well, now you need to, all right? If your credit limit is just off the charts, lower it. On the other hand, if you're increasing your credit limit, think twice. Why? Because most likely you're overspending and you're paying an outrageous interest amount on a monthly basis. Now, some of you, you're millionaires out there, you just go, hey, I spend 20 grand a month on my credit card and I pay it off monthly. You know, I say, bravo, man, you're a genius. Pass on your secret as to how you're making that kind of money. And what are you spending 20 grand on if it's not business related? Okay. Go-to rate, interest rate that you're charged after the introductory or promotional rate. Now be careful here. All right, I talk a lot about the similarities here between adjustable rate mortgages and these ridiculous promotional rates by credit card companies. And it's a fool me rate. And people fall for this. Some people are smart, okay? If they see a 1 year 2% credit card rate without any kind of cancellation or transfer requirements, they'll use that credit card for the year at that promotional rate. People like doing this. And you know what, 350 million people in the United States, and I can't speak for anyone else. Some people have the time to do this, and they're going to use that low interest rate. And they may be able to find a go-to rate with some other feature, some other promotional feature, and they know how to manipulate this. And if so, share how you're doing this. I'd like to know. Your grace period, now keep in mind, you can have a 28 to 30 day grace period. In other words, you're going to have a statement date. In other words, you're going to have the date that you have to make your payment. Then you're going to have your next payment date, and it's typically 29 to 30 days forward of all the previous charges from the previous month. It's beautiful if you know how to use it. Just make your monthly payment on the due date. No sooner, no later. Okay, and you get that 30 days for free. That's the one perk of credit cards. On the other hand, a lot of people just don't think about this grace period and subsequently just go about charging. Now, why is this a benefit to you? Well, why pay your credit card early? Let's say you went out and you have a $10,000 max credit limit. And you went out and you bought a bunch of appliances. All right, that's smart. And you spent 10 grand. Just make it simple. Well, why would you pay your credit card early when that 10 grand should be earning something, should be in a money market account, earning at least something? Why give the money to the credit card company ahead of time? Earn the interest and pay on the due dates. That's just a suggestion. And how do you do that? Well, online, you just go on and look to see as you go through your payment process, there's going to say pay by, and then look at the date. And my credit card company has a calendar, and they'll have a little red date as to saying your due date. Don't pay after this. So I always pay on that day. Not a problem. Introductory promotional APRs, be careful here, because you're going to look at a 6-month super low offer, but then it's going to go up to 25%. There's no free lunches here. And again, these credit card companies have a lot of people, and all they're doing is crunching the numbers to come up with the best scheme to convince you to use their credit card and to somehow recapture that differential. In other words, it's a 6% start rate in a 18% market. They're going to make it up somewhere. Penalty APRs, penalty fees, and then when your rates can rise, this is where you're going to need to do your homework, because the wording on this could just be misleading. Most credit cards have interest rates that change based on an overall interest rate in the economy. This means that when interest rates rise generally, the interest rates you pay on your credit card purchases also increase. You're going to have the Fed funds rate, then you're going to have the prime rate, then you're going to have some other whatever index credit card companies want to play. Your credit card could be tied to that particular index. Be sure to read what the interest rate is tied to. So otherwise, credit card companies cannot raise your rate for the first 12 months after you open your account unless there's an introductory rate. There's always a but. Introductory rates must last at least 6 months, or you are more than 60 days late paying your bill. All right, there's a lot of caveats here, so be careful. Now, bottom line, and here's a bunch of other information. This Information will be linked below, as it always is. So how do you shop? I think I've given you enough clues as to shop. Use the web, call your credit card company, see if there's a promotional deal. If by chance you had a mortgage with one of the large banks, maybe they also have a favorable credit card promotion, long-term deal. It could be beneficial. Again, that's just a matter of shopping around, keeping an eye on whatever benefits or any promotional deals that they're throwing in there in terms of rates and fees, and then 2% back or 4% back or 6% back kind of deal. Let me know your experiences. Are you using a credit card? Are you using a debit card? Do you prefer credit cards? Do you make your monthly payment? You pay off the entire amount on a monthly basis? Do you just write checks? Are you old-fashioned and you pay by cash, literally cash dollars for everything? Some people do. Let me know. Brad Williams, Frugal Finance. Thanks for watching.